Greetings from sunny South Florida. It's time for the Palm Beach Podcast. And the hosts of your show, sports chiropractor and athletic trainer, Dr. James Spencer. Photographer and art director, Mike Jones. Recorded live at the Media Zone Podcast Studio in Palm Beach County. Relax and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the Palm Beach Podcast. My name is Mike and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. James Spencer.
Hey, good to see you, guy.
Yeah, thanks for being here for another awesome podcast. And today is a very special show because the last few episodes we've had some athletes and some coaches, and today we get to bring in an artist, something from my realm. So Weatherly, thank you so much for joining us on the Palm Beach Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a treat to be here.
And your artwork is amazing, and we'll definitely be sharing links to all of your awesome stuff that the listeners and the viewers can watch later. But why don't you tell people a little bit about how you got started in artwork?
Oh, that's a great question. I had
Throwing you on the spot.
Jumping right in. Let's see. Well, I did my very first oil painting when I was 11. My great uncle was a painter, Gary Melchers, and his dad was a sculptor. And I had always heard stories about them growing up, and I ended up with, I believe, Gary Melchers' original paint box, or his small, like, plein air outdoor paint box. Mm-hmm. So when I was 11, I broke that out and played around with it and did a painting of a duck, I think.
Do you still have that?
Actually, my mom does.
That's impressive.
I put it on Instagram a couple months ago.
You got a lot of likes.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So I think I always dabbled when I was in elementary school, middle school, and then the high school where I went was a great art. They had an amazing art program, and I took some really great drawing and painting classes there in photography. And then I got to college and took a painting class that completely sidetracked me. It was not what I needed, was not a good fit, and didn't resonate with the teacher at all. Turned me away from painting for a long time. And then we kind of dabble back it kept calling me back. And so I would go back and start painting again. Mm-hmm. And it just never was quite the right time. And then in 2010, I was teaching elementary school. I was a fourth grade teacher. Not living the life I wanted to live, and kind of blew a few other things up in my life.
Just making ends meet and going along, or what?
It was, I was married at the time, not with the person that I should be with. Sure. I didn't think, and I enjoyed what I was doing, but I wasn't passionate about it, and I couldn't see doing it for the rest of my life. And a few other things weren't clicking in my life, so I blew everything up. So ended up, redo. So I ended up getting divorced, selling my house, moving, starting to paint full time. And I gave myself, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to try it for a year and see what happens. And kind of one thing led to another. At the time, I had grown up riding horses, and I got back into riding horses around the same time. And so a friend of mine was like, oh, could you paint a portrait for me? We just lost, it was actually a dog portrait, and they had just lost their yellow lab. And she's like, would you paint Georgia for us? I was like, I've never done that before, but I'll try it. So one thing led to another. And so I got into painting animals and doing portraits for people, and I was riding, and
that's really cool.
Yeah. So very convoluted story.
No, I think like the thing that strikes me with that conversation is that you weren't fulfilled, right? Like you knew that you had more potential and space for growth and things that you wanted to do. And kudos to you for getting out there and getting after it.
Thank you. Yeah, I really realized, I think it took a while for me to figure myself out, and I'm still learning all the time about what is important to me and where I want to go with my life. And I think I finally listened to my inner voice, and I'm at another point in my life right now where I'm kind of changing my business up, and again, following that intuition. And it's really hard at times, but like you said, it's, I think, the most fulfilling at the end of the day.
And what do you think really is it's not the monetary value or the end goal, because once you get there, you've realized that's not the fulfillment that you want. What really is the end goal that you're looking for?
I think, it's funny because when I was first starting to paint full time, I had to prove to myself and to others that
Sure.
the whole starving artist thing was a complete misnomer. And so, I reached certain financial goals and it was great. And and then it left me very hollow feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm realizing the more that I can challenge myself and the more that I can grow as an artist and learn and try new things and get myself out of the comfort zone as much as possible, as scary as it is, it's way more fulfilling and way more, I feel like it will help me grow exponentially.
And is it more like, hey, I'm going from watercolors to pastel, or are we doing chalk drawings, or what are you doing now that's different?
So a lot of my business for the first 9 years that I started was commission based for other people.
Sure.
It was like, great, somebody else's vision.
Sure.
Now it's more of my own vision.
Awesome.
I also do a lot of work. I'm an oil painter, but I traditionally paint on canvas or linen. Now I'm playing around with painting on aluminum. I do some watercolor painting. I've done a sculpture before, and this past summer I spent 8 weeks in Italy painting outdoors with the bugs and the heat and the sun. And
I saw some of your sketches on Instagram. Those are great.
Thank you. They frustrate the hell out of me, but they were really, like, now looking back, I'm like, oh, that was really fun. It was a great experience. But at the time I was like, oh my God, this sucks. And I would throw it on the ground and like stomp on it.
Yeah, well, you really have to put yourself in a space where you can just appreciate everything that's going on around you, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, because the hustle and bustle of a normal day, everyone's going by and you're just sitting there with a blank canvas.
And that's the beauty of it. Like, you have to be completely present and in the moment, which I love about painting. And also getting out of my studio. Like my studio, I have a great studio space, but it's a very controlled environment. The lights, everything's in the box.
Exactly.
And so going out and plein air painting, it's like, oh, there goes that shadow. The cloud just covered the sun. So now I need to go over it or leave it, or, you're chasing the light. It gets hot. You're losing your shade you're trying to paint, and you have these random people walking by trying to speak Italian to you. Your cappuccino wears off and you're screwed.
And where were you in Italy?
I was just north of Rome, in Civita Castellana.
And why'd you choose there?
It was a master class with this artist he's from Brooklyn originally, but he lives in Israel and runs a school in Israel. And
that's amazing.
It was with a group of artists. So there was anywhere from 10 to 40 artists, which was the best part of it. Like, we had amazing artists of all levels from around the world. And so any given day, you'd go out of your house, you're like, where am I going to paint today? And you run into somebody like, hey, you want to go paint over here? And it's like, perfect.
Cool.
And so having that camaraderie and that community, which it's hard as an artist. I mean, as you know, it's very solitary. It can be very solitary.
Even like painting classes in college were stressful because you're like, is this person watching what I'm doing, or am I watching what they're doing?
Why isn't it like more openly shared of what you are doing versus kind of, hey, this is what I'm doing over here?
I think it's more finding the people that are doing similar things.
Okay.
I think where my studio is now, we have a great group of artists there, but we're all doing such different things. And when I was in Italy, it's like we're all landscape painting outside from life. And so it's finding people that like-minded, exactly, that are doing something similar and have a similar goal in mind.
Well, and I think as well, some artists are very self-conscious of their work while it's in process. And I remember an exercise that I did at college was to actually draw with a pencil with no eraser.
I like that.
And
that's cool.
It's just like, like whatever happens. You know, there's no erasing. You just have to build upon whatever you've done. And I remember it being a very powerful exercise.
Yeah, that's a great exercise, actually. That's very cool. Yeah, it's and I think it over time I've become more confident, painting in front of people or sharing what I'm doing in process. It was funny because I had a friend who's a photographer. He came in and did a time-lapse photograph time-lapse video of me painting this painting. And It's like, oh my God, this is going terribly. So like the second day I came in and like sanded the whole thing and like went over it, and it's true. It's like you get kind of starstruck or just,
in the spotlight.
In the spotlight, exactly. Yeah.
And nobody knows but you. Like, it's only in between your own two ears, right?
Yeah.
And it's just funny how you can like project this like thing that's just imaginary to you.
Yeah.
It's just weird artist stuff. But I'm sure because James films himself a lot and puts himself up. It's the same difference. You're still self-critiquing, self-judging.
Yeah. I was literally just going to say that. I think sometimes I think it's the shittiest video and it may get the biggest response.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that? And then the one that I think's a home run?
Yeah.
Crickets.
It's the same thing with painting.
Yep.
I'll post like the painting that I'm so proud of. I'll be like, this is gonna sell in a heartbeat, and then it's like nothing. Yeah. And then the painting that I think sucks that almost ended up in the dumpster was like
makes you the most money.
Yeah, totally,
Exactly.
Totally. So it's just funny. Art is so subjective.
So I did a little research and saw that you're from Detroit originally. Is that right?
Yes.
So how did you make it from all the way up there all the way down here?
Oh, that's a very convoluted story. So I grew up north of Detroit in Metamora, a small country town. Went out to CU Boulder for college and graduate school for teaching, and then ended up. So I was in Boulder for about 10 years. So my art got sidetracked. I ended up becoming a professional mountain bike racer for a number of years, and then ended up in Vail and taught skiing, and then messed my back up and started teaching elementary school. And then from there, when I went through my divorce, I got back into riding horses, which I grown up doing. And
what'd you do?
I showed hunters.
Okay.
And stopped for 17 years. And then my mom continued. My mom was a lifelong equestrian and has always loved the sport, loved
That's
horses. Awesome. And she would always be like, "You want to come ride? You want to come ride?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm done. I'm over it." And one Thanksgiving, she was living south of Denver and I was living outside of Vail, and she was so funny. She's like, "Why don't you come ride? I have this really pretty horse. He's lovely. I'm going to sell him, but just come down.
Come check him out."
Yeah, you're going to come for Thanksgiving anyway. So I went down and rode this horse. His name was Nolan. And he was beautiful. He was like the GQ model of the horse world.
She knew what she was doing.
She totally manipulated me, and I fell for
planned.
it completely. So I fall in love with this horse. I'm like, well, and I was just like walk trotting and cantering. And then of course I'm like, well, can I just jump a little bit? I had jumped in like 15 to 17 years.
It's like a Cadillac.
Yeah. He was totally like riding a couch. He was so comfortable. He was big. He was beautiful. I felt like a princess on him. And, so yeah, she got me completely sucked back in.
Love it.
And then I started painting. Then I stopped teaching and started painting, and we were riding and showing together actually for a time, which was really fun, and decided that it would be great to come down here because the equestrian world here is so strong. And so came down here for a winter, and then for the next few years I would come back and I would go back and forth. I would show here and go back on the weekends, and then I don't know, and then it just kind of evolved. And then at some point I ended up back in Michigan, living in Michigan, painting full time and riding. And Michigan weather. I mean, Michigan's a beautiful state, but the weather leaves a lot to be.
Pure Michigan. It's cold up there.
It's really cold.
Summertime's good though.
The summer, which is 3 months long, is wonderful. And my mom still lives there, so I can go and enjoy it.
Perfect.
Great to visit.
Great to visit. And yeah, so finally I realized I'm like, I can work from anywhere. I have the luxury of doing
Sure.
something that is portable. And it's like, well, Florida's as good a place as any, and a lot of my clients are here and friends were here, so.
Plus no state income tax.
No state income tax too. That's right. Yeah, so it seemed like a good fit. And it's funny because I never in a million years thought I would be a Floridian, and actually I really enjoy it. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's taken me a while to, because the horse world's very transient and seasonal, and being here year round, it's like I'm finding my little niches of people that are here year round and grounded. And
well, and now you got a new niche. I hear rumors of some surf lessons.
yes, I would love it.
Yeah, I know. We were saying before, it hurts much less to fall in the ocean than it does to fall on like snow or concrete.
Or off a horse.
Or off a horse,
yes.
Especially with beautiful blue waters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to be here on Singer Island in Palm Beach County. It's absolutely gorgeous here, and it's only 20, 30 minutes from Wellington, right?
Yeah, it's close. And my studio is 15 minutes, which is really convenient. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you guys have to pinch me because it's like a dream living here,
Hey, BRB, anybody need a refill?
You grabbing a freshie?
Sure. Thank you.
Top us up, Spence. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's I have to get over my fear factor, but I realize like the more I face those fears, the faster I'll get over them. And I've tried surfing once and it was not very good.
Well, so the way that you talked about painting is sort of the way that I feel about surfing, where like if you are sidetracked in your brain, like you're just gonna miss the waves, like you're gonna miss the whole experience. Like you actually just have to be there in that moment, because it's easy to be sitting out there being like, oh, I have to go shopping or do my laundry, all these other things.
We get so caught up in our heads.
Absolutely.
I'm so guilty of it.
Whereas surfing really is it's one of those things where Spence and I have these conversations about balance. Balance training really stimulates your mind.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you stop concentrating on balance, you fall.
Interesting.
So if you concentrate on anything but your balance, like you
get distracted.
Absolutely.
That was the point I like that you made about having to be present. I feel the same way about juggling. Juggling, slacklining, those were my 2 study breaks during chiropractic school, and that was something that just allowed me to kind of get out there and not think about that. And when you said that, it was like a light bulb for me. Like, not enough people are present, and I think these are some opportunities. This could be meditation for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to an athlete this morning about it. I said, you need to meditate, and your form of meditation may not be mine. It may just be walking out in nature.
Yeah.
But you have to have some form of being present, or else you won't be able to recover as well as you could. So I really kudos to that point, because that really resonated with me.
Well, it's interesting because I'm a lifelong athlete. I mean, I grew up riding horses and I ski raced in high school, and then I was a mountain bike racer, and then I taught skiing. Like now I play tennis, and I think that's what I really love about sports is because you really have to be completely present. You cannot think about anything else. And 2 hours goes by and you're like, wow, what happened?
Felt like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard to recreate that, I think, in everyday life with all the busyness that we are faced with and the distractions. And I feel like the dog from Up, like swirl, huh?
So let's talk a little bit about the transition. You were talking before about your business, and there's some things changing. Obviously, you started off with, a request to paint an animal all the way back, and you've made a name for yourself painting animals, haven't you?
I have a really nice niche with the equestrian world and doing dog and horse portraits, and I'm so grateful for my clients and friends that have supported me along the way. Mm-hmm. And I'll still take some very selective commissions. But I do want to pursue my own work. What I was finding was, as much as I enjoyed painting for other people and making that connection with my clients, I was really giving my own work a kind of a short stick and not spending the time that I wanted to with it. And so I'm trying to honor that and pay more attention to what calls to me as a painter, and trying to push myself as a painter more. And it's a little scary because obviously the income is a little less consistent, and but it'll evolve. And so it's big change.
I mean, I'm so very relatable in the same world of photography, where I made a name and a living taking photos of people and surfing, whereas like, my happy place was always just like photographing those empty, perfect waves. Like, just something about it is just, a canvas to me. And I actually create these like challenges in my head where I'm like, oh, I need to go and take photos like every day this week, just to like, or I need to post like a series and just do things for me. And hearing you say that, it's great that you have the awareness of, what drives you, what fulfills you, and going from there, it's really powerful once you know all that.
Yeah, I think one of my fears in life is complacency, and I never want to be like, I'm always trying to learn, like probably to a fault. I'm always pushing myself. I'm always learning, and I'm trying to be better about slowing down and like appreciating where I've come and the things that I've accomplished or done, or the good things too. But I'm always like, what's next? Driving forward. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's good though. There's a Gandhi quote that that makes me think of that. It's, learn as if you'll live forever. Like,
I love that.
Be a lifelong learner, because it's going to be a continuous growth. And not only is it going to help you, you're going to be able to help somebody else down the road.
I hope so. It's cute. I was just in Boulder visiting my brother and my niece, and they're of course giving me the big push to
A little family time.
Yeah, a little family time, and they're giving me the strong encouragement to move back to Boulder. And my niece is an artist, and
cool.
Yeah, which is really cool, and she's so talented.
And it's really in your DNA.
It is, which is funny. Like I get it on both sides. She gets it. Well, obviously, my brother, we have different moms, but so
Sure.
she has it from our dad's side, but it's ingrained in her.
It's amazing.
Also. And so it's cute to see her. And my brother's always saying how much she looks up to me. And it's sweet for me, like, to feel that influence. And, I see her so much more passionate about it and clear about it than I was at her age. So it's really cool. I can't wait to see where she goes with it.
Who is a big influence of yours?
That's a good question. So I had some great professors and teachers in high school that I was really fortunate to have, that were really supportive and encouraging. And then I've recently been looking at a lot of old masters painters. Matisse is one of my all-time favorites. I loved Matisse when I was a kid, and I have a couple of paintings that I did in the style of Matisse. Actually, one's hanging in my studio. It's really funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And and I feel like with the internet now, it's so easy to find amazing artists. There's so many talented artists out there. But I do still try to go back to older master painters that were very traditional, and see what nuggets I can take from their work. So
what have you seen to be like a kind of a common theme between those master painters?
I think, I think between composition and light and color and their use of color, and, like Picasso, I think is amazing. And I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place as far as I like to paint a lot of things and try new things. And I love Picasso because he had different stages in his career, and you can follow, like, you can see he has a very traditional foundation, and then he was able to push himself into the abstract world and cubism and take it into, so he has such a varied body of work, and I love that. And so I think there's something to be learned from all of them, Matisse and his color. And I love that, like my studio is right by the Norton Museum, so I go over there, and they have some sculptures by Matisse, and I love that
That's convenient.
It's really convenient, and it's such a beautiful museum, and it has such a great collection. And Matisse, like, I love in a lot of his work, you can see the process, and you can see, where he erased lines or went over things and left it to the viewer. Or in his sculptures, you can see where he's like carving clay, but left it really rough, and you can see how he approached problems to the visual world, which I think is really cool.
Well, it was raw. It was true, right? And not enough people would show that vulnerability, especially like we were just discussing. A lot of people are self-conscious of that, where he just pivots and transforms that into something. That's really cool.
And I think today, especially with social media, and I catch myself, and I'm trying to be more vulnerable with it, because it's so easy to put this like glossy, perfect,
yeah, totally,
image of yourself, and everything's, curated, and I think we're losing some of that rawness and some of that authenticity, and
well, I think
messiness.
Yeah, exactly.
Even just showing like a halfway completed piece, or that time lapse that you talked about before, might just give people a little window into, the actual process.
Totally.
Because like, you're not a painter just by the final picture. Like, it's the whole process that makes you a painter, right?
Yeah. And I think it makes people more relatable, when you are not flawed, but we're all flawed, but like, you can see, God, I was really struggling in this day, and this is not going where I imagined. And, but I worked through it, and wow, I never thought that this was going to come out of it.
And it's sort of like that behind the scenes. And we've already talked about him once today. So Gary V, we're going to bring you up one more time, but it's that his document.
And happy birthday, Gary.
Is it his birthday today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
It's the document mentality versus the create mentality.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you just document what you're doing, like you're creating something, you're showing what you're doing. Whereas if you put all this pressure on yourself to have this polished, pretty, perfect thing, like you'll just drive yourself crazy and do detriment to your business.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Totally guilty.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the guy that led the program in Italy, the masterclass, his biggest hang up with me and my work was like, you're trying to create a product. Get rid of the sentimentality and stop creating a product. I'm like, but I can't. It's so ingrained in me to like finish a painting, and it has to be this way. And it's like it loses a lot of the magic and I think the spontaneity. And so that's one thing that I'm working towards in my work going forward is adding a little mystery and adding more for the viewer to put together versus here it all is. It's right on a silver platter for you.
It's awesome. It really is so cool to see someone speak with clarity on what
their
vision
is.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like a perfect person to come in on the Palm Beach podcast, because every guest that we've brought in is that same person of, like driven, has that awareness of who they are and what they want to be, and are doing great things in the community. Like I know that you give back proceeds from some of your paintings that you sell to animals.
I do. I'm a huge animal lover, lifelong animal lover. And I volunteer at the Palm Beach County Animal Shelter. Just adopted Gus from the shelter.
Tell us about Gus.
Oh my God, he's the love of my life. He's the best. I wish I had brought him.
Yeah, we do too.
Next time I will bring him. So I volunteer there once a week, and one of the other volunteers had put something on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for volunteers, and there were 3 dogs, one of which was going to be euthanized like that night at midnight, and that was Gus. And he was, I don't know, his picture just spoke to me. He was like this goofy one-off of a dog. He was like a Rottweiler hound mix and he looked petrified in his picture, of course, because he's in the shelter, and he has some gray. So anyway, I was like, well, I'll foster him. And they're like, well, there's a rescue that might be able to take him, and you can foster him for the rescue. You have to fill out the paperwork with the rescue, and then the rescue will contact you. And I never heard anything. I'm like, do not kill this dog, please. Like there's some reason that I cannot let this dog go. So they're like, well, we postponed it 24 hours. And they're basically like, you have to adopt him. I'm like, well, I'm dogless right now. So
perfect.
Yeah. So the next day I'm filling out the paperwork. They're like, have you actually met, his name was Guardian before I adopted him. And they're like, have you met Guardian? I'm like, no, maybe I should go do that.
Yeah.
And
so I went out to the yard and met him, and he was so sweet. He was just like a gentle giant. He's like 80 pounds and just big and goofy. He reminds me of Marmaduke.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember
boy.
Marmaduke. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, done deal. So I adopted him, and he's turned out to be such a good dog. Like he comes and hangs out in the studio, and he's, hangs out on the couch with me. He's pretty mellow, and he's 7. Owner surrender, trying to give the people the benefit of the doubt of like, I don't know their situation, but it makes me hate people sometimes.
Sure.
Like, how could you give this dog up?
Yeah, I'm sure you don't spoil Gus at all.
No, but it's funny because I think, so he has all these calluses. He's got calluses and scars. So I think he was on like a concrete pad for all of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's living on
the
couch.
couch.
In the bed. Yeah. But I try to give him bones, and like I'll give him these chewy toys. I'll give him squeaky toys. I'll give him bones. He's never been a dog. Like he's never had a chance to, he's never
enjoy that.
Yeah. So he doesn't know what to do with them. So he's like, so he just hid it. Like I gave him a bone one day and he just hid it. And then he went and checked on it and made sure it was there, and then relocated
Instinctual.
it. Yeah. But he won't chew it. I'm like, Gus, there's lots more where that came from.
Eat that one.
So what are some of your favorite things to do in Palm Beach County, maybe with or without Gus?
So now,
question.
well, Gus now comes with me pretty much everywhere. But I'm now my sport of choice is tennis. So when I was living in Michigan, I started playing tennis because I'm like, I need a social outlet. At the time I was working from home. I work from home. I live alone. I don't want to go hang out at a bar to go meet people. So I need to go do something. So I was like, I've always wanted to play tennis. This would be a great way to meet people. So now that was kind of same thing here. So I play a ton of tennis, which is fun. I've actually never in a million years thought I would say this, but I'm turning into a bird watcher.
That's awesome.
I love it. Like my backyard, I'll go walk with Gus, or just even I have a couple of ponds near my house, and the bird life here is incredible.
Yeah.
And so I've done some bird paintings, which has been fun. And I don't really know a whole lot about them, but I'm learning.
I'm going to throw this out there. There's a preserve right off of
Pearson.
Hypoluxo.
Oh.
Hypoluxo, there's a built preserve right there that it's like 3 or 4 stories.
Oh, wow.
And very quiet with a huge preserve around there. I'd highly suggest.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. Because I know there's one right off of Pearson,
yep.
Which is
hop and a skip down the street from us.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's a couple others in Wellington and just in this whole area. It's amazing. So that's fun.
Yeah, we are very fortunate to be living in such a beautiful place. Yeah. And, we're here at Media Zone on Singer Island, recording a podcast, having some White Claws. It's not a bad Thursday here in Palm Beach County, is it?
Not a bad Thursday.
Cheers.
No. Cheers.
Absolutely. So we'll have to tell the guests how they can find you online.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I think LinkedIn, but I don't really do much with it. But my website is weatherlystroh.com, and then on Facebook, Weatherly Stroh Studio, and Instagram is Weatherly Stroh Studio also. So
awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is such a treat, and what a great studio, and I love what you're doing, and I think it's going to be a really fun podcast to continue to listen to.
Heck yeah!
Going forward.
A, thank you for the support, and B, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Well, until next time, I'm sure that we had this conversation right before, but I don't think this will be the last time that we ever see you in here, right?
I hope not. I would love a part 2. This is
two.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to share your story.
Thank you.
And, good luck with Gus at home tonight. And thanks for coming on the Palm Beach podcast.
Thank you guys. This was fun.
Cheers.
Cheers.